While the Roman men hunted down and routed the enemy, Romulus put the opposing prince to the sword and captured the town by force as their leader bit the dust. In victory, Romulus disposed of the spoils, took the armor which he had stripped from the body of the enemy general, and dressed it onto a wooden stake. Marching back to the capital with this war trophy, Romulus claimed the first ever spolia opima, which was an ultimate military trophy eligible only to those with imperium who had defeated an enemy of absolute supreme rank or command, being that a king or a chief. This trophy was so exclusive it was only ever won by two other individuals throughout the history of the Roman people. Upon returning, Romulus dedicated the spolia opima to Jupiter Erythraeus, which is Latin for Jupiter the striker, and thus said, "To you I bring these spoils of victory, a king's armor taken by a king, and within the bounds already clear to my mind's eye, I dedicate to you a holy precinct, where in days to come, following my example, other men shall lay the spoils of war stripped from the bodies of commanders or kings killed by their own hands." Romulus's act of violence in battle against King Acron was not just a mere act of war, but it gives us a glimpse of Romulus's core philosophies that would shape the Roman constitution and the philosophy of power. Romulus was a warrior, a founder, a king, and a lawgiver who understood the power of kingship, the art of war, and the mechanism of sheer will. Romulus, not bound by conventional morality, established a system through calculated ruthlessness and pragmatism. Rhea Silvia was the niece of King Amulius, who had usurped the throne from her father, King Numitor. To put measures in place of eliminating any threat of future heirs, Amulius made Rhea a Vestal Virgin, which bounded her to a strict celibacy of 30 years. If a Vestal Virgin broke this vow, she would be buried alive as punishment. Rhea was raped and gave birth to twin boys, claiming it was Mars, the god of war, that visited her. The king, in panic and paranoia, imprisoned her at once. When the boys were born, Romulus and Remus were condemned to death by drowning. The river Tiber had overflowed, and since the ground was flooded, it was futile trying to get to the actual river. The men thought it better to leave the twins by the edge, since they would still drown there nonetheless. A she-wolf then stumbled upon the twins and nurtured them with profound maternal instinct and care. Faustulus, the king's herdsman, took them in and gave them to his wife to nurse. As they grew, they began hunting in the woods, tending the flock, and then began attacking robbers and sharing the goods with their friends. Some brigands who were robbed of their ill-gotten goods set a trap for Romulus and Remus. Romulus defended himself, but Remus was handed over to King Amulius. The complaint against Remus was that he and his sibling were perpetually raiding Numitor's land with an organized band of men. Since this raiding was occurring on Numitor's land, Amulius then transferred him into the custody of Numitor. While Numitor was questioning his prisoner, he could not help but notice Remus's noble aura, physical stature, and character that did not emulate those who are lowborn. With further inquiry, Numitor acknowledged Remus as his grandson, and both conspired to depose King Amulius in vengeance. Meanwhile, Romulus had already acted. He was not strong enough for open battle, so he gave word to his herdsmen to meet at King Amulius's house by different routes at a preordained time, and with Remus at the head of another group of men, the king was ambushed and killed. Numitor summoned the realm, laid the facts about how his throne was stolen from him, the plot to kill his grandsons, and the murder of King Amulius, to which there was a unanimous shout of approval and joy to his kingship. After the coup of Alba, Romulus and Remus decided to find new settlements, and like their grandfathers who were divided by ambition, so Romulus and Remus quarreled. Romulus took the Palatine Hill, and Remus took the Aventine. Remus laughed and jumped over Romulus's half-built walls, whereupon Romulus killed him in rage, saying, "So perish whoever else shall overleap my battlements." Thus Romulus obtained sole power, and the city was henceforth named Rome. After fortifying its walls, Romulus summoned his realm, gave them laws, and he thought those who he had dominion over would respect his laws only if he showed visible signs of power, to which he created the 12 lictors to attend him. He mixed strength with wisdom by creating a social organization, 100 senators who were heads of clans and whose descendants would be called patricians. He also invited asylum seekers and fugitives to be citizens, whether they be slaves, free, or criminals. Rome did not have enough women for procreation, which seemed like his city would not last to the second generation. After refusals of intermarriage from neighbors, Romulus and the Romans resorted to kidnapping Sabine women as well as other women from neighboring communities to make as wives. This led to continuous cycles of war to which Romulus routed them all. Romulus allowed most of the defeated to move to Rome as citizens instead of having themselves slaughtered. When the Sabine army gained entry into Rome through treachery, resulting in brutal bloodshed, the kidnapped Sabine women ran onto the battlefield to stop the slaughter. The battle stopped, but Romulus grew in power, not by signing a peace treaty only, but forming a joint kingdom with the Sabine king and doubling the size of Rome. Titus Tatius, the king of the Sabines, was then killed in a neighboring city, but Romulus did not avenge him. He rather took Tatius's share and secured sole control of a unified kingdom once again, and spent the rest of his life waging war against other kings and powers. Romulus had good judgment, was shrewd, and had keen political intelligence. Nietzsche believed that mankind are driven by an instinct to expand, conquer, and dominate. Master morality is the framework of powerful, strong-willed, and ferocious individuals. Masters don't look out, but they look within themselves to determine what is good. The duality is not deemed as good or evil, but instead good or bad. Good is what enhances the master's power, vitality, and status, and bad is weakness, conformity, and cowardice. They look within and declare their own actions as good, rendering anything beneath or contrary to their nature as bad. One navigates life through the lens of ambition and creativity, setting their own standards rather than looking to the world for a sense of worth and judging actions based on whether they enhance life and increase power. By modern ethical standards, Romulus was evil, but under the concept of master morality, his actions are judged by strength and success rather than conventional morality. When his twin brother mocked him and laughed at his new built walls, Romulus struck him down and declared the same fate will befall anyone who tries to breach his walls. To increase the population and longevity of his new city, Romulus executed a mass kidnapping of Sabine women, and when he defeated King Acron in mortal combat, he made a trophy of his bloody armor. In slave morality, these actions would be deemed evil. However, to a Roman aristocrat or Nietzsche's concept of master morality, Romulus was good because he was strong and kept breaking through new plateaus of power, whereas Remus was bad because he represented weakness. Romulus abandoned morality to enter the realm of an Übermensch who creates a new world order out of sheer will. Machiavelli compared Fortuna to a violent river, When it floods, it destroys everything. However, a person of virtue has what it takes to bend circumstances to their will, rather than being swept away by the thing we call life. Machiavelli recycled the original Roman virtus, which meant manly excellence, into a pragmatic and political character trait. So virtue means intelligence, willpower, and ability. Virtue is also a mixture of ruthlessness, adaptability, foresight, and cunning. A leader must know how to act as both beast and man, and those who only know how to act man do not understand power. They must be like a fox to discern evil traps, and like a lion to devour the enemy. Machiavelli referred to power as a constant battle between virtue and fortuna. Fortuna favors the bold. Therefore, a pragmatic and decisive leader can shape historical catastrophes or circumstances instead of being rocked by them. Romulus was born illegitimate, left for dead in the wilderness, nurtured by an animal and robbed of his birthright. Ironically, it was good that Romulus was dealt a deadly blow by life in childhood. If he wasn't left for dead or disadvantaged, he would have lived in comfort and never had the drive to overcome and obtain power. Rather than yielding himself to victimhood, which is slave morality in Nietzsche's terms, Romulus took a firm grip of his terrible circumstances, and his violent rise was self-affirmation against an unfortunate, turbulent, and hostile universe. Perhaps Romulus should have perished obscurely or become a petty criminal, but instead he forced his vision and will upon Fortuna. Pragmatism weighs the truth or value of an act solely on its success and real-world utility. It rejects dogmatic ideals to favor what works in reality. We see this when Romulus established the 12 lictors after perceiving that public displays of power command respect and show threat of force. Romulus ironically did not keep Rome just for purebloods, but opened its gates to fugitives, slaves, and asylum seekers. Romulus pragmatically noticed he needed numbers in his army, so he welcomed criminals. After successful campaigns, he made his enemies become citizens instead of being slaughtered or enslaved, which doubled his power and prevented him from being hated. Romulus prioritized functionality over morality. Actions was what made him find Rome on a thick foundation of iron. He was a founder who adapted like an eagle to every crisis with practical solutions over moral ideology. After Romulus mysteriously vanished and reappeared as a god in front of Proculus, he says, "It was the will of the gods, Proculus, that I should be among mortals for only a fixed time, for I came to you from the gods, and I have founded a city destined to be the greatest of all in its power and glory. Now I must again dwell in heaven. Tell the Romans that if they cultivate self-restraint together with valor, they will not fail to attain the highest degree of human power." Whether Romulus was a mythical figure or a historical ruler, Romulus was nonetheless a Nietzschean founder, a Machiavellian ruler, and a wise pragmatist who understood human nature and practical success in society and government.